Hey, close your eyes. It's winter. You're 19. Your uniform doesn't fit. Your boots have holes. And your rifle? Well, you don't have one. Your breath freezes before it even leaves your mouth. Your fingers are purple. Your stomach empty for 2 days. The man next to you just died in his sleep and the sergeant tells you to take his coat before it stiffens. You do, because it's minus 30 degrees Celsius. And dead men don't need warmth. There are no trenches here. Just pits hacked from frozen mud. No hot meals, no fires. If the Germans don't kill you, the frostbite will. If the frostbite doesn't, dysentery might. This isn't glory. This isn't strategy. This is the Eastern Front. Stalingrad, Kursk, Leningrad. Names that sound like history books to you now. But they were real places, and they swallowed millions. If you like stories like this, brutal, raw, honest, give the video a like. Subscribe. It helps more than you think. Keeps us telling the stories they never taught you in school. Now, take a deep breath. Forget your bed. Forget warmth. Forget safety. You're not home anymore. You're in the Red Army. And today's the day you learn why most didn't survive. You wake up because someone kicks you. Not gently, not like a nudge from a friend. Hard, boot to ribs, cold steel toe. You groan not because it hurts, but because it didn't kill you. It's morning, technically, but there's no sun, just grey. The kind of grey that seeps into your skin and makes everything feel like ash. You're lying in a shallow ditch filled with slush, piss, and what might be blood. Your coat froze to the earth during the night. You try to sit up, but the fabric pulls. You tear it free. The ice rips the lining. You've been sleeping next to 3 other men. One of them didn't make it. His eyes are open. His mouth too. You don't close them. You don't even flinch. You're used to it now. The sergeant is already shouting. Something about formations. Something about pushing forward. You don't listen too closely. The orders change faster than the front does. Your fingers don't work properly. You rub them under your armpits, blow on them, slap them against your thighs. Still numb. You check your gloves. One's missing. Doesn't matter. You've still got 9 fingers. You look around. The trees are skeletal. The snow is red in patches. Somewhere, far off, you hear artillery, German or Soviet. Doesn't matter. It all lands the same. Your stomach growls. Loud. You reach for your ration tin empty. The last thing you ate was half a potato 2 days ago. You chewed it for 20 minutes to make it last. You pull your rifle out from under your blanket. It's a Mosin Nagant, bolt action, heavy. The barrel's cold enough to burn your skin. You don't check if it's clean, there's no point. You haven't fired it in days. You haven't seen a bullet in longer. The soldier next to you, Nikita? Nikolai? You forget is still asleep. You nudge him. No response. You nudge harder. Nothing. You lean in. Hold your breath. Wait. Then the slow rise of his chest. Still alive. Barely. You leave him. You don't have time for hope this morning. The wind cuts across the trees like a blade. Your scarf is gone, so is your pride. You walk to the company gathering point, more like a loose knot of frozen shapes. Most of the men have frostbitten noses. Some are missing ears. All are filthy, starving, shaking. The lieutenant appears from behind a tree. He's young, too young. He's holding a map, even though everyone here knows the only map that matters is the one drawn in blood. He points east, or maybe west. You don't care. It's just another direction to die in. We move at dawn, he says. Someone coughs, someone else vomits. You adjust your gear, what little of it still works. The sling on your rifle is fraying, your canteen is frozen solid. Your boots are stiff with ice and caked blood. You hear someone whisper behind you, "Where's the tank support?" Another voice replies, "They're all dead, or stuck, or abandoned." You remember what they told you at the recruitment depot? The Germans are cowards, you'll break them easily. That was 6 months ago. You've been breaking ever since. You march. Your feet crunch against snow that hides corpses and shell fragments, and worse. Every step is a gamble. Will it be a mine? A sniper's line? Will your boot crack open and leave your foot to the frost? The man ahead of you collapses. No shot, no scream, just down. A medic runs over, checks his pulse, shakes his head. Another one gone. You don't ask his name. You didn't know it. The column keeps moving. Somewhere overhead, German planes buzz like flies. You duck instinctively, but they're not bombing today, just scouting, watching, laughing maybe. You reach a clearing. The snow here is disturbed. Boot prints, drag marks, shell casings, signs of a fight, signs of failure. There's a body leaning against a tree. Soviet uniform, no head. A helmet nearby with a hole punched through both sides. You keep walking. No one talks anymore. The only sound is wind and boots and coughing. Then the lieutenant holds up a hand, stops the line, points ahead. You squint. There in the distance a farmhouse, or what's left of one. Broken roof, walls scorched black, smoke still curling from the chimney. He turns to the men and says the only word that matters: hold. You drop to one knee, raise your rifle, aim, even though you know the bolt is frozen, even though you know your hands are shaking too hard to be accurate. You wait. No movement. The sergeant moves forward, crouching low. You follow, step by step, breath by breath. You reach the door, kick it in. Nothing. Just ashes, a frozen corpse in the corner. Civilian. Old. Hands still clutching a loaf of black bread turned to stone. You don't take it. It might be poisoned or rigged. You move on. By nightfall you've lost 3 more men. One froze. One disappeared. One stepped on something he shouldn't have. No one cries. There are no tears left to give. You make camp nearer a frozen creek. Dig shallow trenches with your helmets. Sleep in shifts. You wrap your coat tighter. You think about home not because it helps, but because it hurts less than thinking about tomorrow. You fall asleep with your hand on your rifle. Because in this war, you don't get dreams. You get silence. And silence is the worst warning of all. You wake up in the dark. Again. You don't know what time it is, only that it's still freezing, still quiet. Still the war. Your stomach gnaws at itself. It stopped growling 2 days ago. Now it just hurts. Dull, constant, personal. You sit up slowly. Your joints crack like dry twigs. The frozen mud clings to your coat like it wants to keep you. You don't blame it. You look around. 5 of you were here last night. Now there are 4. No blood, no footprints, just gone. Maybe he wandered off. Maybe he froze. Maybe something found him in the dark. You don't ask. You don't speak. You reach into your coat. Pull out your rations. A crust of black bread hard as a stone. You scrape off the frost. Break off a piece with your teeth. Chew for a minute. Swallow. It doesn't help. You haven't had meat in weeks. Haven't tasted sugar in months. You dream about potatoes. One of the men next to you, Ivan, maybe pulls something from his coat. He holds it like a treasure. A can of condensed milk. No label, rusted. Where he got it, you don't ask. He doesn't open it, just looks at it. You understand that can is hope, and hope is currency. Once you spend it, it's gone. The sergeant stirs. He doesn't say good morning. No one does. He just points northeast. And that's where you're going today. You stand. Your knees don't want to. Your boots are stiff. The left one has a split in the sole. You wrapped it in cloth. It didn't help. Your socks, what's left of them, are wet. They froze to your skin sometime last night. You don't check for blisters. You already know they're there. You march. Through knee-high snow. Past frozen trees. Past corpses in Soviet uniforms, faces eaten by frost and crows. Some still grip their rifles. Some are missing hands. One is smiling. You keep walking. Your breath comes in ragged clouds. It freezes to your collar. Your eyelashes crust with ice. Every few steps you blink hard just to see. You pass a cart, broken wheel, inside supplies. Ruined, soaked, abandoned. You spot something wrapped in cloth. You step closer. It's meat. You don't ask what kind. You don't care. You carve off a strip with your bayonet. Eat it raw. It tastes like iron and rot. You chew anyway, because hunger is louder than fear. A shot rings out. You drop instantly. Snow explodes next to your boot. Sniper. You crawl behind a stump. Heart hammering. You scan the trees. Nothing. Another shot closer. Then another from your side. A comrade returns fire. You see the muzzle flash. The sniper stops. You wait. Longer than necessary. Just in case. Then you stand. The man next to you doesn't. You check his face. Or what's left of it. You take his ammunition, his canteen, his scarf. Then you keep moving. Because stopping means freezing. Freezing means death. By midday the wind picks up. It howls like something alive. Your coat flaps. Your eyes water. Your ears burn. You wrap your face in what you can. You pass a tree with carvings in the bark. Initials. A date. 1941. You wonder if the man who carved it made it home. Then you laugh. No one's making it home. You crest a hill and see it. A German supply truck. Abandoned. Stuck in a snowdrift. Bullet holes in the windshield. You rush it. Inside nothing. Just empty crates. Crumbs. A piece of sausage frozen to the floor. You scrape it up. Lick it. You hate yourself for it. But you do it anyway. The lieutenant calls for a break. You sit in the snow. Not because it's comfortable. Because it's there. You check your boots again. Your toes are purple. Your big toenail is gone. You wrap them tighter with gauze. It's already soaked through. You try not to think about infection. There's no medicine. No morphine. Just vodka, and not enough of that. You hear footsteps. A column of men Soviets, like you. Or what's left of them. One limps with a crutch made from a broom handle. Another drags a machine gun on a sled. One is singing. Not loudly, not well. Just enough to prove he still can. You nod at them. They nod back. That's friendship now. The lieutenant gathers everyone. Says we're pushing toward a village. Says there's food there. Says we'll rest there. Says a lot of things. You believe none of it. But you go anyway. Because the alternative is staying here. And here is death. As you march, you pass a group of partisans. Dirty, thin, wild eyes. They nod too. They're not really army, but they bleed the same. You share your last piece of bread with one. He doesn't say thank you. just eats it in 2 bites, then vanishes into the woods. By dusk, you smell smoke, not from campfires, from burning buildings. The village is ahead, but so are the Germans. You drop to your knees, raise your rifle. Wait, the sergeant signals. You charge. What happens next is fast, loud, ugly. Gunfire. Screams. Snow stained red. Men slipping on blood and ice. Bayonets finding targets in the dark. You kill a man, up close. He begs. You don't understand him. You stab anyway. When it's over, the village is ours. What's left of it? You search the houses, find canned food, salt, a frozen chicken. You eat like an animal. You don't feel shame. You don't feel anything. Just heat in your belly. For the first time in weeks, you find a chair. Sit. Close your eyes. You're not warm, but you're not starving. And for now, that's enough. You wake up to silence. No gunfire, no yelling, no barking orders. Just the quiet kind of cold that settles into your chest and refuses to leave, like it's watching you. You're in the remnants of a barn. Half roof, burned beams. Snow drifted through the open walls while you slept. Your blanket, frozen solid. Your breath, a ghost in front of your face. Someone's lying next to you. You turn your head. He's staring at the ceiling. Eyes open, unblinking, unmoving. Mouth a little open, like he meant to say something but never did. You nudge him. Nothing. You nudge him again. Still nothing. You check his chest. No rise, no fall. Just stiff fabric and the heavy stink of what used to be a man. You sigh. Not in grief, not in shock. Just habit. You reach for his gloves. They're warmer than yours. Still dry. You take them. You don't say goodbye. He won't mind. You stand up. Your knees crack. Your back pulls. Your hip is bruised from the wooden floor. You stretch slowly and look around. 2 others in your squad are awake, or at least upright. One is cleaning a rifle that probably won't fire. The other is crouched by the door, chewing on raw cabbage you found yesterday. You look at him and think, that could be me. That was me. And tomorrow? It might be the other way around. You step outside. The village is still smouldering. The air tastes like ash and cooked meat. Somewhere, a dog barks once, then stops. The sergeant is by a wall, digging through a crate of ammunition. He doesn't look up. He says, half the men froze last night. You nod, not surprised, not even fazed, just noted. He tosses you a pouch. Inside a few cartridges. 7.62. Musin compatible. You almost smile. Today's starting out lucky. You load your rifle. The bolt still sticks. You force it. You've stopped worrying about damage. Nothing lasts long enough to break down. The lieutenant calls you over. New orders. Recon ahead. Forest line. Check for German patrols. You say nothing. You don't argue. You don't ask who's going, because you already know you are. You and 2 others. You don't learn their names. No point. You leave the village. Snow crunches underfoot. Every step is a risk. Not from the enemy, from the earth. Tripwires, mines, frozen holes disguised as solid ground. You walk slowly, deliberately, eyes scanning every tree, every fence post, every shadow. You pass a cart turned over in the ditch, hoofprints around it. Horse is gone. So are the reins, and the driver. Just a red smear leading off the path. You press on. 10 minutes in, you smell something sharp. Not gunpowder, not smoke. Sweet, rotting, faint but wrong. You raise your rifle, gesture to the others. They nod. Weapons up, eyes alert. You move off the trail. There ahead shapes, bodies, 6, maybe 7, piled like trash behind a barn wall. Uniforms half frozen to the ground. Faces grey, eyes wide. One's mouth is open too wide, like it cracked apart from the cold or the scream. You move closer. They're Soviet. You check the insignias. Different unit. One you haven't seen before. Fresh blood. Some of the wounds are gunshots. Some aren't. One has no eyes. Another's hands are bound. You look to your left. Bullet casings in the snow. German. But one of the bodies has a Soviet bullet in his neck. You freeze. The soldier next to you says what you're thinking. Execution. Not by Germans. By us. The lieutenant was right, some units broke. Some men ran, and when they got caught, they didn't come back. They came here, buried in cold and shame and frost. You crouch beside the youngest one, barely shaving age. His rifle is beside him, fully loaded, never fired. You close his eyes, not for him, for you. To remind yourself you're still human. Mostly. You hear a whistle faint from the trees. You drop to your stomach. Your 2 comrades do the same. You wait. A minute. Then another. Then movement. A figure. Long coat, steel helmet. Slow steps. German. Just one. Scout. You don't move. The snow muffles everything. He steps within 30 meters, then 20, then 10. Your heart pounds. You could shoot, but the others might hear. Or worse, he might not be alone. You wait. He stops by the pile of bodies, looks down, lights a cigarette. The flame briefly lights his face. He's young, really young. He mutters something you don't understand. German, soft, tired. Then he steps away, toward the trees. You rise slowly, sight your rifle. Breathe. Squeeze. Crack. He drops. No scream, just a thud, like a bag of wet cement. You rush forward, check the area, clear. You check his pockets. Map, cigarettes, matches. You take them all. You look at his face one more time. He doesn't look like a monster. He looks like you, only colder. You return to the village by dusk. The others don't ask what you saw. They don't want to know. They're too busy stripping corpses for boots. You find your spot in the barn again. Sit down. Light a cigarette. It tastes like ash and guilt and relief. You look around. So many shapes. Some breathing. Some still. You wonder, comrade or corpse? And then you realize something worse. There's no difference anymore. Just timing. The next morning they call for reinforcements. That means you. That means men who still have working legs and one lung left. That means people who can hold a weapon if they're lucky enough to have one. You fall in line. Cracked boots. Half-buttoned coat. Your rifle, still functioning, mostly. The man next to you isn't so lucky. No rifle, no sidearm, not even a bayonet. Just fists. You glance at him. He shrugs. This isn't new, he mutters. They only gave out 20 rifles for the whole platoon. You look around. 30, maybe 35 men. Less than half are armed. The rest? They're supposed to wait. Wait for someone else to die. Then take their weapon and keep moving. They told you this once, back in training. You thought it was a rumour. Now you're living it. You all huddle behind a battered wall on the outskirts of a small settlement. Beyond the field, German trenches. Beyond those trenches, everything else you'll never see again. A lieutenant walks past yelling, not orders, not tactics, just volume. Push forward when the whistle blows. Someone asks, what about the ones without rifles? He stops, looks dead at the man. When the man in front of you falls, he says coldly, pick up his gun. And then he moves on like that answered anything. You look at the man again, the unarmed one. He's not scared, not angry. He's resigned. He knows his job isn't to fight. It's to wait for death to make room for him. You try not to think about that. But you do. Because your rifle? You're only holding it because someone else dropped it 3 days ago, along with half his intestines. You remember grabbing it. Remember the warmth still in the wooden stock. The blood soaking into your gloves. You never learned that man's name. But now his rifle is yours. And maybe tomorrow it'll be someone else's. The whistle blows. You stand. Not because you want to. Because everyone else does. You run through snow, through open ground, through screams. Bullets snap past your ears. Some are close. Some are closer. The man beside you drops face down, twitching. The unarmed man behind him dives, grabs the rifle and keeps moving. Just like he was told. You reach a low ditch, half frozen, barely cover. You slam down into it, chest heaving. You peek over the ridge. Ahead barbed wire. Machine guns. Men in grey. You fire. Your rifle bucks. A man falls. You reload. Fire again. The bolt jams. You slap it. It slides. You fire again. Then again. The rhythm is the only thing that feels real anymore. Beside you, someone screams. You don't look. Not yet. You crawl forward through muck, through bone. Another man reaches the wire. He has no cutters. Just a coat and desperation. He throws himself on it. Doesn't scream. Doesn't move. Just lays there. You understand. He's become a bridge. And the others, they climb over him, one by one. You reach the wire too. Look down at the body. The man's face is frozen in agony. His coat is smoking from a phosphorus round. You step on his back. Climb through. You don't say thank you. There's no time for gratitude. Only survival. You breach the trench. It's chaos. Close quarters. Bayonets. Knives. Rocks. A German swings a shovel at you. You duck. Stab upward. He gurgles. Falls. You take his pistol. Keep moving. You see the unarmed man again, the one from earlier. He's got a rifle now. He's using it. Badly. But with heart. You fire next to him. He flinches. Looks at you. Smiles. You don't smile back. There's nothing to smile about. Eventually it ends. The trench is ours. You count bodies. Some yours. Most not. The ground is soaked with things you try not to identify. The man you stepped over? Still there. Still a bridge. Someone finally pulls him off the wire. Lays him in the snow. Covers his face with a scarf. You find a canteen on a corpse. Shake it. Half full. You drink. There's vodka. Burns your throat. Warms your belly. You pass it to the man with the second-hand rifle. He nods. Drinks. Hands it back. Neither of you speaks. There's nothing left to say. Later you find a moment to sit. Your back against sandbags. Your rifle in your lap. You clean it as best you can. Clear the jam. Wipe the blood. Check the sight. You don't do it out of pride. You do it because next time you might be the one who drops it. And you'd like the next man to have a clean shot. You look at the others. Half of them have gear that doesn't match. Boots from corpses. Helmets from other wars. One man's coat has bullet holes in it from before he put it on. But they're alive. For now. And in this place. That's more than most. You lie down. Close your eyes. And whisper a quiet prayer to the rifle gods. Please, let me keep mine one more day. You haven't slept in... You don't know how long. Maybe a day, maybe 2. Maybe since the last time you saw the sun. Not that it matters. Time is useless here. There's only before the last firefight and after the last shelling. You're leaning against a wall that used to be part of a school. Now it's a cratered slab of cement keeping the wind off your face. Your eyes burn. Not from smoke, not from snow. Just from being open too long. They want to close. God, they want to close. But you know what happens if they do. The last guy who nodded off didn't wake up. Not because he got shot. Because he stopped shivering. His blood gave up. His lungs froze from the inside out. So you fight it. Even though your head keeps dipping. Even though your rifle keeps slipping down your chest. You bite your tongue. Hard. It works for 10 seconds. Then the wave comes again, thick, warm, inviting, real. A drug made of fatigue and hopelessness. Someone beside you mumbles something. You turn your head. He's dreaming out loud. Slurred Russian. A name his mother's maybe. Or his dog's. He laughs once. Then his breath rattles. Then nothing. You lean over. Check for movement. For breath. Gone. You don't react. You just shift slightly. Take his gloves. Yours are wet. His are dry. You press your back harder into the wall. Try to focus on something. Anything. The snow falling sideways. The icicles hanging off the ruined roof. The distant sound of artillery far enough not to flinch, close enough to remember. You check your rifle again. Not because it needs it, but because it keeps your hands moving. Your mind is wandering. That's the danger zone. It's not the snipers. It's the daydreams. Because when you start dreaming about hot food, warm beds, and someone saying your name, you get sloppy, and sloppy gets you killed. You think you hear footsteps. You jolt upright. Nothing. Just your own pulse in your ears. Your body is shutting down in shifts. First the feet can't feel them. Then the hands stiff and slow. Then the gut stopped growling days ago. Now the mind flickering like a candle in wind. You look at your fingers. They're grey around the knuckles. You press one. It doesn't spring back. Frostbite. Second stage. You remember the pamphlet. Stage 3 means amputation. If there's a medic. There's not. You slap your face. Stay awake. The wind howls through the ruins like it's trying to whisper something. You don't listen. You're afraid it might make sense. You blink. Once. Twice. Too long. Suddenly you're not behind the wall anymore. You're home. Back in the kitchen. Your mother's making soup. There's music on the radio. You're warm. You're laughing. You blink again. You're not home. You're curled in the snow, face down, half buried, freezing. Someone's shaking you. It's Harris. Or someone who looks like him. You can't tell anymore. He slaps you. Wake up, he says. You almost froze. You try to speak. It comes out as a grunt. He drags you to your feet. Your knees buckle. He catches you. Pushes you against the wall. Sleep later, he says, if you're lucky. You nod. Try to thank him. He shrugs. Don't thank me yet. He walks off. You slump back down. The cold is inside your bones now. Not biting, not sharp. Just there. Like a dull hand pressing down on your heart. You look at the others. Some are shaking violently. Some are perfectly still. You don't know which is worse. One man, no hat, no gloves, is staring straight ahead. His lips are blue. His pupils huge. He's whispering to someone who isn't there. You think about going to him. You don't. You've seen this before. You'll see it again. It's the kind of madness that happens right before the end, and you're not ready to catch it yet. Someone starts singing, low, rough. A lullaby, maybe. Or a hymn. It echoes through the ruins like a ghost trying to remember the lyrics. Then it stops. No one claps. No one comments. Because that kind of softness feels dangerous. You hug your rifle tighter, not for protection, for warmth. The bolt is cold against your cheek, but it's the only thing that feels real anymore. Your head dips again. Your eyelids droop. Just 5 minutes. That's what your brain says. 5 minutes and you'll be fine. You believe it. You always do. That's why the dead look so peaceful. Because they thought the same thing. You close your eyes. But just before the darkness takes you completely, a single word explodes from your lips like a cough. Awake. You open your eyes. You sit up. You live. For now. Because out here, sleep is just practice for the grave. The trench is alive. You don't know how else to describe it. It breathes. Not like a person, more like an animal. Slow, wet, constant. When the wind howls, it exhales. When it rains, it drinks. When it freezes, it clenches. And you? You live inside it now. You drop down from the surface boots, hitting a sludge that used to be dirt, and immediately regret it. The air is worse down here. Thicker. Rotted. It smells like oil, mould, and human failure. Like meat that's been buried too long. You move along the narrow path. Your shoulders brush the walls, timber in places, but mostly packed earth, sagging and soft. Your rifle bangs against your hip every few steps. You don't adjust it. You just keep walking. Your section of trench is barely 5 feet deep. Too shallow to protect from shrapnel. Too narrow to turn around in a hurry. It's not shelter, it's delay. You pass others crouched along the wall. Blank stares. Blackened fingers. Some smoking. One sharpening a knife that probably isn't his. A rat scurries across the top edge. Big, bold, untouched by fear. It pauses. Looks at you. Then vanishes into a hole the size of your boot. You envy it. At least the rats get tunnels. You keep walking. Someone calls out. A whisper, almost a growl. Watch the collapse ahead. You nod. No one gives full sentences anymore. Just warnings, instructions, breathing with verbs. You reach the collapse. The wall caved in under rain and frost. Someone tried to reinforce it with broken rifle stocks and a door ripped from a church. It holds, barely. You climb over. Your foot sinks ankle deep into something soft. You pray it's mud. It isn't. You don't look down. You just keep moving. You reach a corner. Stop. Listen. Movement? Yes. Soft splashes. Wet coughing. You raise your rifle. Peer around. Just one man, leaning against the wall, eyes closed, breathing barely. You lower the rifle. He's one of yours, or was. You call out. No response. You get closer. The stench hits first. You shine your flashlight briefly. His chest is moving, thus his face is blank. His stomach is wrong, bloated, torn, rope-twisted intestines leaking into the mud. You freeze. He's not dead, but he should be. You reach for your morphine, then remember it's gone. Used 2 nights ago on a boy who lost his leg to a misstep and a German mine. You stare at the man. He stares past you. You don't speak. You don't pray. You just move on. Because if you stop here, the trench will take you too. You reach your position. Sit. Back against a sandbag wall soaked through with snowmelt and blood. Harris is there. He offers you a match. You take it. You don't light it, just hold it. It's warm in your fingers. And in a place like this, that's a luxury. He leans over, voice low. They found lice in the lieutenant's eyebrows. You nod. Makes sense. Everyone's crawling. You haven't changed clothes in a month. Your skin itches constantly. You bleed when you scratch. Your nails are black from trench rot and scratching. Harris continues. Saw a guy boil his uniform, then drink the water. You grimace, then wonder if it worked. You look at your hands, cracked, red, frost creeping into your knuckles. You dip them into your armpits. Warmth. For a second, the trench gurgles. Water rising from the last rain. It soaks into your boots again. You gave up on dry socks 2 weeks ago. You gave up on dry anything, readers. You feel movement beside you. A rat. Not running. Waddling. Full. You don't ask what it ate. You just hope it doesn't come back. You hear a thud nearby. Someone fell asleep. Slipped. Hit their head. A medic drags him out. No one asks how he's doing. The medic doesn't look hopeful. You look down the trench again. Steam rises from bodies. The kind of warmth that only comes before death. You start to count them. You stop. Harris lights a cigarette. He takes one drag, then hands it to you. You take it. Breathe in. Smoke fills your lungs. It's the first thing all day that doesn't feel like knives. You exhale. The wind shifts. Smoke gets stolen by the trench. You whisper, half to yourself. Smells better than the air. Harris chuckles once, then coughs up something black. You both go silent. There's a sound above you. Metal on wood. A footstep. Then another. German patrol? Or just your own? You freeze. The trench doesn't. It keeps shifting, breathing, absorbing everything around it. You wait. Then a voice. Russian. Relief. The night settles. You adjust your coat. Try to sleep. Try. The wall is cold behind your back. The floor is wetter now. You sink into it like bread in broth. You close your eyes, and for a moment you dream you're walking on dry ground. But then the trench inhales, and you remember this place doesn't let go. It only swallows slower. The first thing you notice when you wake up is the smell. It hits before your eyes even open. Thick, sweet, wet, like meat left out in the sun too long. Like something dead that doesn't know it yet. You try not to breathe through your nose. It doesn't help. It's in the air. In your coat. In your mouth. You taste it. And it tastes like war. You sit up slowly. Your back pops. Your spine protests. Your boots squelch. You slept in a puddle again. It's not water. You try not to think about it. Someone's coughing nearby. Deep hacking cough. Chunks hitting the dirt. You turn your head. A man leans forward, spitting into his hands. It's pink. He wipes it on his coat and says nothing. You stand, stretch, and the smell gets worse. Because now it's moving. The air shifts, and suddenly the trench is full of it. Like the wind remembered all the bodies you forgot. You walk along the line. 10 meters in, you find the source. A pile of what used to be people. Half covered in a torn canvas tarp. Feet sticking out. Fingers curled into claws. Rats scatter as you approach. Fat ones. Not afraid of you anymore. One stares at you, black eyes shining like it knows your name. Then it vanishes into a rib cage. You turn away. Behind you, a soldier is retching. Loud, violent. He leans on the trench wall and vomits until he's dry heaving. No one comforts him. Everyone else is used to it. A corporal walks past holding a tin of spoiled meat. He opens it anyway. You watch him chew. He doesn't flinch. Doesn't care. Nothing tastes different anymore. Everything is rot. Your own body is part of it now. You haven't bathed in weeks. Your uniform reeks of mildew, gunpowder, blood, sweat, and defeat. Your socks stiff. Your skin cracked. Your breath sour from hunger and rot. You lift your arm and sniff your sleeve. Mistake. It smells like something died under there. Maybe it did. Maybe part of you. Someone lights a cigarette. The smoke cuts through the trench like a miracle. You follow it. The man offers you a drag. You take it. One pull. Then another. You hold the smoke in your lungs like it's clean air from back home. But even the cigarette smells like rot. Tobacco soaked in dampness smuggled through a corpse's coat. Still better than nothing. You walk on. You pass a latrine trench. Don't look. Don't breathe. Just move faster. But it sticks to you. That stench, it crawls into your throat and refuses to leave. Flies buzz around your ears like a curse. You slap them. They come back. You pass a medic station, if you can call it that. More of a hole with a canvas roof. Inside, men on stretchers, or on crates, or just lying on the ground. They smell like infection. One has a leg wrapped in gauze that's turned yellow. The wound leaks. You don't ask what. The medic wipes his hands on his trousers, picks up a bottle of iodine, pours it directly into a man's gut wound. The scream cuts through the trench like a whip. No one reacts. It's just another noise in the choir of misery. You move on. Past sandbags soaked with blood. Past boots half buried in the wall. Past a dog carcass that's frozen into the mud. You reach the next outpost. A dugout. Low ceiling. Dirt walls. Candle wax dripping onto crates. Inside, 6 men crammed together. Steam rises from their bodies. Not from warmth. From rot. You sit beside them. Try to breathe through your mouth. Bad idea. Now the stench is on your tongue. You chew it like guilt. You pull your scarf up. It doesn't help. Someone's boiling water in a dented pot. They toss in a handful of something green and fuzzy. Might have been cabbage once. They pass you a tin cup. You drink. It tastes like mould and hope. You drink anyway, because hunger is louder than disgust. You lean back against the wall. Close your eyes. The rot follows. It's in your nose, your mouth, your lungs. You dream of a house back home. White walls, clean sheets, a mother who kisses your forehead. But even in the dream, something smells wrong. You look down. Your boots are leaking black water onto the floor. You wake up, back in the trench. A rat is sniffing your boot. You kick it. It squeals, runs. You stand again. No point staying still. Stillness lets the rot catch you. You walk, just to move, just to prove you still can. Because out here, the war doesn't kill you all at once. It rots you. One nerve, one tooth, one breath at a time. Until there's nothing left. Just a uniform that smells like everything you've lost. And a face you don't recognise in the next reflection. You hear it before you see it. Low, heavy, mechanical. A growl that vibrates in your chest and rattles your teeth. Not gunfire. Not aircraft. Worse. Tanks. German ones. You press your ear to the trench wall. Feel it a rhythm in the dirt. Treads. Tracks. Steel and mass and engine oil. You grip your rifle. It's a joke now. You could point it at the tank. Fire every round. Scream every shot. And it wouldn't even notice. Because you're just a man. And that thing, that's a fortress with legs. A shout echoes down the trench. Panzer advance. Men scramble. Some grab grenades. One has a Molotov 3 days old and leaking. You check your satchel. You've got one anti-tank grenade. The kind that only works if you're close enough to die with it. Perfect. The sergeant appears. You five up to the next ridge, flank them when they roll past. You nod. Of course you nod. That's what soldiers do, right? Nod. Run. Die. You climb out of the trench. Snow up to your shins. Wind screaming across the fields like it's trying to warn you. You see them now. 3 silhouettes on the horizon. Panzer IVs. Big, angular, confident. Their turrets scan left and right like lazy eyes looking for movement. You sprint across the open ground. The others follow. No time for stealth. Only speed. You reach the ridge. Drop to your belly. The tanks are closer now. You can hear the squeal of metal, the hiss of exhaust, the slow bone-breaking churn of treads. You feel small, because you are. You're not a warrior here. You're bait. The lead tank fires. Not at you. Not yet. Just a house in the distance. The roof explodes. The walls collapse inward. Gone. You watch the blast cloud rise, and all you can think is, we used to live in things like that. The sergeant crawls up beside you. Harris has the Molotov, he says. You distract the second tank. You don't ask how. Because you already know. You nod. Again. He slaps your shoulder. Not encouragement. Just habit. Then he's gone. You wait. Wait for the moment. Wait for the fear to sharpen into something useful. Then you stand. You run. Straight toward the second tank. Not because you're brave. Because there's nothing else left to be. You shout. Loud. Throw something your helmet. It bounces off the front plate and rolls away. The turret turns. You dive. A shell explodes behind you, snow and mud erupt. You crawl. Left side. Rear tread. You reach for the grenade. The pin's cold. Your fingers numb. You yank it with your teeth. It comes free. You shove it under the tread. Roll away. Cover your head. Boom. Not big, but loud. The tank groans, lurches. One track clanks free. It spins in place, trying to pivot. Then the Molotov hits. Fire rolls over the rear engine deck. Men inside scream. You don't feel anything. Not victory, not satisfaction. Just heat. And the knowledge that you're still alive. For now. The other tanks pivot. Guns swinging toward your ridge. Someone fires a flare. Red streak across grey sky. A signal. Soviet artillery answers. Too late. Shells land behind the panzers. Close. But not enough. One tank reverses, smoke screen trailing behind it. The other charges. Toward you. Your rifle's empty. You throw it away. You don't need it anymore. You grab the next thing you can find, a broken stick. No use. But it gives your hand something to do. The sergeant yells, "Move!" You run. Back down the ridge. Through the smoke. Through your own heartbeat. A shell hits 30 meters to your left. The ground lifts. You fly. Land hard. You taste blood. Your arms numb. You look. Shrapnel. Elbow to wrist. You clench your fist. Fingers still work. Good enough. Harris appears. His coat smoking. His hands are burned. But he's grinning. Still alive? You nod. He laughs. Shame. You both drop into a shell crater. The tank rolls past the ridge still burning from the Molotov. You listen to its engine sputter, then die. Steel beats flesh, but sometimes flesh gets lucky. You look around. 3 of the 5 are gone. The ridge is a smear of churned snow, black earth and red streaks. You crawl back toward your lines. When you reach the trench again, someone offers you a cigarette. You take it with your good hand, light it with shaking fingers. Inhale. Exhale. Your nose is bleeding. You wipe it on your sleeve. Someone says something behind you, a joke maybe. You don't catch it. You're too busy watching the black smoke curl into the sky. Because today, you fought a tank, and you lived. But tomorrow, there will be more. And next time, you might not even have a grenade. Just your legs. And maybe not even those. You've stopped walking in straight lines. You zigzag. Pause under trees. Avoid open ground. You don't look up. You don't look around too fast. Because you're in sniper country now. And out here, snipers don't miss. They don't rush. They don't panic. They wait. They wait for your boot to sink into soft snow. Wait for you to scratch your face. Wait for you to raise your head an inch too high over the trench lip. Then, crack. Not a loud crack. Not the cinematic boom from war movies. Just a snap, like a twig breaking in the distance. And someone drops. Never screaming. There's no time for that. They're just standing 1 second, and gone the next. Welcome to Sniper Alley. You're crawling now, through wet slush, through snow that burns your palms. Your elbows are already raw, but you keep moving, because if you stop, they'll know. You feel like an insect, flat to the earth, silent, slow. You reach a shattered wall. You press your back against it. Breathe. Once, twice. No shot. Good sign. Or bad. Because if they haven't fired yet, it's because they're waiting for someone better. You peer through a crack in the stone. The street ahead is empty. Too empty. No birds. No dogs. No wind. Just ruined buildings. Broken windows. Shadows that look like rifle barrels. Your squad is across the street. 4 men huddled behind an overturned truck. One is bleeding. One is praying. The others are waiting for you to move first. You don't blame them. No one wants to be the first target. You dig into your coat pocket. Pull out a shard of mirror. Angle it around the corner. Nothing obvious. But snipers don't need to be obvious. They only need your face. You hold your breath. Then you run. Fast. Low. Boots slipping on snow-packed stone. You dive behind the truck. The others barely glance at you. They're focused on the same thing you are. The building across the street. 3 floors, 1 open window. Just enough visibility to line up a perfect shot. You whisper, top right, maybe 3rd floor. The guy next to you nods. His name might be Mikhail. You're not sure anymore. He lifts his rifle, scopes the window, waits. Nothing. Then movement. Just a flicker. Glass. The sniper sees him before he sees anything. Crack. Mikhail jerks. Falls sideways. Not dead. Not yet. But hit. Neck. Spurting. You drop. Crawl toward him. He's gurgling. Eyes wide. You press your hand over the hole. Blood floods through your fingers. He grabs your sleeve. Tugs once. Then lets go. His head slumps. You curse. Not loudly. Just enough for your teeth to feel it. Someone yells, "Leave him!" You do. Because there's no point now. You wipe your bloody hand on your coat. Useless gesture. Everything's bloody anyway. You scan the window again. Same one. Still quiet. You whisper to the guy next to you. Got a smoke grenade? He nods. Pulls one from his vest. Tosses it. It bounces once. Twice. Then hisses. Grey clouds billow. You all move. Fast. Through the smoke. Across the open gap. Into the next building. It smells like burnt wood and urine inside. You climb stairs. Slowly. Each step creaks. Your rifle ready. You reach the 2nd floor. Clear. 3rd floor. You hear something. A breath. No. The sound of a scope being adjusted. You drop. Roll left. Peek around the frame. There. Sniper. Camouflaged in debris. Hood up. Still a stone. But his barrel is glowing slightly from the cold. You aim. Fire. Miss. He moves. Fast. Faster than you expect. Returns fire. The wall explodes next to your face. You duck. Glass in your cheek. You crawl to a new angle. Peek again. Gone. No movement. Then a boot step. Behind you. You turn. Another sniper. Not alone. This one's younger. Close range. Too close for comfort. He raises his pistol. You slam your shoulder into him. He falls back. You fire point blank. Chest. He gasps, then collapses. You check his weapon. Luger, polished, clean. Better than yours? You take it. Return to the 3rd floor window. The first sniper is gone. Slipped away. Like fog. You exhale. Just once. You don't smile. You don't relax. You just reload. Because he'll be back. He might be aiming right now. And all it takes is one wrong breath. 1 second too long peeking from behind rubble. And it's over. You learned something today. You learned what it feels like to be prey. Because in Sniper Alley, you're not a soldier. You're a heartbeat waiting to stop. Not anymore. But you are afraid of being shot in the back. Not by the Germans. By your own side. By the man in the black coat. The one who never fights. Never bleeds. Never shivers. The commissar. He doesn't carry a rifle. Just a pistol. And a list of names. You don't know if your name is on it. You hope not. But you've seen men get added for less. A cough during formation. A glance too long at a ration truck. A whisper, wrong tone, wrong time. Now they're gone. Official reason, cowardice. Unofficial reason? They were tired. Just like you. You first saw him 2 weeks ago. Long coat, tall boots, eyes like drills. He spoke like he was narrating a newspaper headline. Comrades must remain vigilant. Treachery is born from doubt. You weren't sure what he meant. Then a private next to you sneezed. He never came back from latrine duty. Now, you avoid eye contact. Everyone does. You eat in silence. You march in silence. Even when the shells fall close, you don't flinch anymore. Not because you're brave, because he's watching. You hear rumours. He carries a black notebook. Keeps score. Names. Mistakes. Who hesitated? Who cried? Who spoke German when they thought no one was listening? One morning he calls a name. A boy steps forward. 17. Barely a soldier. Shakes like a leaf. The commissar says, "This man was caught hoarding food." No trial. No witness. Just the word caught. He draws his pistol. One shot. The boy drops. Then silence. The commissar holsters his weapon. Looks at the rest of you. Let this be a lesson. You nod. Everyone nods. Not because you agree, because he's counting. Later, you see the dead boy's rations. Still unopened. Untouched. You say nothing. The commissar passes behind you once while you clean your rifle. He pauses. Says, "Your bolt's dirty." You start to respond. Then stop. He stares at you. Smiles. Moves on. You don't sleep that night. You check your rifle 5 more times. You scrub the bolt until your fingers bleed. Just in case. Because if he visits again, it won't be for a casual observation. You hear about a unit that tried to retreat under fire. Not a full retreat, just a reposition. 2 steps back. 2. The commissar executed 3 of them the next morning. The rest charged the next hill with bayonets fixed and terror in their lungs. They took it. Only 6 survived. That's how it works now. Motivation through fear. Heroism through example. Bullets from both directions. One day, a man beside you says, "I haven't seen my family in a year." Not loud, not dramatic. Just said it. By the next day, he's reassigned to a penal unit. You watch him leave with a shovel, no rifle. That's the commissar's magic. He doesn't have to kill you. He just needs to make you disappear. Now you speak less. You think less. You feel less. Because feelings leak. And leaks get noticed. And notice gets you on a list. A list that ends with a pistol shot and a cold stare. You've learned to stay invisible. Do your job. Shoot your rifle. Don't ask for more bread. Don't question the plan. Smile during roll call, even when your teeth are chattering. Even when your brother's name just got called and he didn't answer. Because the commissar doesn't like silence. Silence means secrets. Secrets mean punishment. One night during watch you hear footsteps. You turn. It's him. Standing just at the edge of the trench. Not speaking, just watching. You nod. He nods back. Then vanishes into the dark like a curse. You don't breathe for a full minute. When you do, it's shallow, quiet, measured. Because out here, death wears many uniforms. Some grey, some red, some yours. 11, the human wave. You're handed a piece of paper from. It says your name, your rank, and one word, underlined twice in red. Advance. That's it. No map, no explanation, no plan. Just a direction. Forward. You're not alone. Hundreds of others stand with you. Some armed, some not. all dressed in coats too thin for the frost biting the tips of your fingers. You look down the line. Eyes like yours. Tired. Empty. Quiet. No one speaks. What's there to say? You've all heard the rumours. This is a human wave. They don't use that word out loud, not in front of the officers. But you all know. Too few bullets. Too few rifles. Too few trained men. So they use what they have. You. The whistle blows. You move. Not because you want to. Not because you believe. But because everyone else does. And if you don't, there's a pistol behind you that will answer for it. You climb out of the trench. Your boots hit snow. You march. Single file becomes double file. Double becomes a flood. A dark river of bodies pouring toward the enemy line. There's no cover. Just open field. Snow. Dirt. Wire. You hear it distant at first. The sound of German machine guns warming up. Click. Click, click. Then, hell opens its mouth. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat. The front rank crumples. Men fall forward. Some scream. Most don't. You don't stop. You can't stop. The tide keeps moving, and if you freeze, you'll be trampled. You grip your rifle tighter. One shot, then another. You're not even aiming, you're just firing, because that's what they told you to do. Keep firing, keep moving. The bullets whiz past your ears. Some find homes in men you'll never know. One hits the man to your right stomach. He drops, clutching his gut. You keep going. Not out of heartlessness, out of survival. Stopping is suicide. You reach a barbed wire fence. You don't have cutters. You climb. The wire rips your coat, your arm. You bleed. You don't stop. Another burst closer. You feel something hot graze your thigh. You keep going. Your boots hit mud softer now, deeper. Blood mixes with snow. The ground is red. You slip. Fall. Crawl. Someone grabs you, pulls you up. You don't see who. Doesn't matter. They're gone the next second, a bullet through the neck. You charge again. Now it's closer. Now you see them, the Germans, firing from behind sandbags. Cold eyes. Efficient. Clean. You're none of those things. But you are many, and that's the point. One of your comrades hurls a grenade. It lands. Explodes. Smoke. Screams. Confusion. You surge forward. Bayonet out. You reach the first trench. Jump in. Land on a man. He tries to scream. You don't let him. Your bayonet finds his chest. Once. Twice. He stops. You look up, ruts to seal, you're in. Others pour in after you. The line breaks. A German runs. You shoot him in the back. Not because it's right. Because it's war. Another one charges. Knife in hand. He stabs you. Lower ribs. You gasp. He tries again. You shoot him in the face. Fall to your knees. The pain isn't sharp. It's distant, like it happened to someone else. You crawl to the side of the trench, lean against a wall. Blood leaks from your coat. You press your hand to it. Warm, wet, real. Around you others are screaming, cheering, dying. It's hard to tell the difference. The whistle blows again. Reinforcements. More bodies in the wave. Some with weapons. Some with wooden sticks. Some with nothing at all. They charge over you. You smile. Because you're still breathing. And because this time, for once, you weren't the one without a weapon. You look up. Snowflakes fall gently. Soft. almost peaceful. The sky doesn't care what you've done. The earth drinks your blood with the same thirst it gives the trees. You sit in the mud, wounded, watching men run past thousands of them. Another wave, and another, until the whole line is a tide of boots and bayonets and bodies surging forward with no end in sight. And you realise it's not about who wins, it's about how many you can afford to lose, and how long you can keep marching into the teeth of the storm. Because in the Red Army, the bullet with your name on it might never come, but the one marked to whom it may concern, that one's always flying. They tell you it's just a building, just 4 stories, brick, windows, stairs. You laugh, because that's what they always say, until you go inside. Then you realise it's not a building, it's a tomb. You get the order at dawn, reinforce a position. Old apartment block, used to house families, now it houses ghosts. You cross the Volga at night, on rafts made of barrels and frozen prayers. The Germans' fire flares. Spotlights sweep the river, but you're quiet. Low. Small. You reach the bank soaked, shaking. Then Stalingrad, or what's left of it. Charred skeletons of buildings. Wreckage. Rubber dolls half buried in rubble. You step over bones like they're tree branches. No time to mourn. You reach the street. They call it Sniper's Alley. You don't look up. You don't breathe too loud. Pavlov's house is 2 blocks down. Used to be a residential block. Now it's a fortress. 3 men wait out front. They don't say hello. They just wave you in. You enter. Dark. Quiet. Too quiet. Someone guides you to the 2nd floor. You trip over wire, fall into sandbags. A voice whispers, "Watch your step." They mined the stairwell last night. You nod. Sit down. Catch your breath. Everything smells like smoke and death. No toilets, no heat, just soot-stained walls and shattered glass. You look around. 10, maybe 12 others inside. Some asleep. Some cleaning weapons. One scribbling a letter no one will ever read. You hear the story. A platoon held this place for 60 days. Fought off tanks, infantry, airstrikes. Didn't surrender. Didn't retreat. They named the building after Sergeant Pavlov, the one who organised it. People say he stacked so many sandbags the walls could stop tank shells. People say the Germans tried to take it every day and failed every time. People say a lot, but no one says what it felt like. You're about to learn. The shelling starts before sunrise. You're on the 3rd floor, lying on your belly. Rifle pointed at a hole in the wall. Barrel resting on a broken window ledge. Outside shapes move. German infantry, careful. Crouching, fast. You fire. Hit 1. Maybe 2. They scatter. You reload. Another shell hits the roof. The building shakes. Plaster falls like snow. You don't flinch. You're used to it now. You crawl to the next room. A machine gun nest sits there. 2 men, both coughing. One turns to you. His eye is gone. Bandaged. He smiles. Don't worry. Still got my good one. Then he goes back to aiming. You nod. Respect is measured in wounds here. You take up position near the stairwell. Just in time. Footsteps. Fast. Heavy. Grenade rolls in. You dive. Boom. Dust. Shrapnel. Screams. One of your men doesn't get back up. You return fire down the stairs. Someone lights a Molotov. Tosses it. The stairwell turns orange. Then black. Smoke chokes the air. You don't care. You aim, fire, reload, repeat. Time disappears. You lose track of hours. Only your trigger finger tells you when it's morning. You reload again. You've lost count. You hear yelling from above. Roof breach. You sprint. Rifle ready. Climb over bodies. Some German, some Soviet. You don't look at their faces. You reach the top. German paratroopers, trying to set up a mortar. You shoot one. Bayonet the second. The third turns to run. You shoot him in the back, then shoot him again. Because once isn't enough anymore. You sit down, covered in blood. Not all of it yours. You light a cigarette with shaking hands. Smoke curls around you. Then someone hands you a tin cup. Boiled snow. Still warm. You drink. Tastes like ash and steel. You don't care. You live here now. In Pavlov's house. Where the walls have names. Where the floors remember screams. Where the dead outnumber the living 3-1. You sleep beside machine guns. Wake to artillery. Eat mouldy bread in the dark. You hear footsteps every night on the stairs, in the halls, sometimes on the ceiling. Sometimes they're yours. Sometimes they're not. You stop asking. Because in Pavlov's house, there's only one rule. You leave in one of two ways. Victorious or carried. And so far, no one's been carried out. They just become part of the foundation. Another brick in the wall. Another name no one will pronounce correctly. But you'll fight. You'll hold. Because this isn't a house anymore. It's a monument to stubbornness. And you're just one more ghost with a rifle, waiting. You don't remember who gave it to you. The bottle. Glass. Filled with fuel. A rag stuffed into the neck like a fuse waiting to whisper something final. It's not elegant. It's not precise. But it's personal. That's what makes it terrifying. You're holding it now, crouched behind a doorway in a ruined apartment block. 3rd floor, north corner. A sniper's perch 2 weeks ago. Now it's just another burning nest in the carcass of the city. Downstairs boots, German ones, fast, deliberate. 2 floors down, clearing room by room. You've got your rifle across your lap, but that's not what you're counting on. Not today. Today you've got fire, and just enough anger to throw it. Your fingers are black with soot. Your sleeves soaked from crawling through puddles of melted snow, blood and fuel. The stench clings to you, gasoline and sweat and fear. You crouch by the stairwell. Watch the shadows move below you. Hear the orders barked in clipped German. You don't need to understand the words. You know the tone. They think this building is dead. They're wrong. You dip your head down, see them. 4 of them, stacked on the landing. One raises a hand ready to move. You light the rag. It sputters, catches, wavers. You count. 3. Their boots shift. 2. Your hand tightens around the neck of the bottle. 1. You stand. Swing your arm. The Molotov leaves your hand like a curse. It arcs. Then glass. Fire. Screams. The landing explodes into orange. Men catch. Clothes ignite. Rifles drop. You hear them shout. One falls down the stairs, burning. Another fires wildly into the ceiling. The third curls into a corner and tries to smother himself with his coat. You don't wait. You move. Rifle up. Bayonet fixed. You rush the stairs like a man possessed. Shoot the one still aiming. Lunge at the second. The bayonet slips through his chest like paper. He gasps once. You twist. He stops. The burning one is gone, left a smear of black across the wall. The last one, the one curled in the corner, is still moving. You raise your rifle. Pause. He is no threat. Not anymore. He looks up at you, his eyes melting. You pull the trigger. Mercy, maybe. Or just momentum. You step over him. Glass crunches under your boots. The flames crawl up the wall, licking wallpaper, old photos, curtains that once saw birthdays. You grab another bottle from the bag beside the body. One more. Always one more. The stairs above creak. Not your men. You know the difference now. It's in the rhythm. How they walk. German boots land heavy, confident, like they own everything they step on. Your men walk lighter, like they're afraid the ground will give out. You back up, ready another bottle, strike a match. Wait. The enemy appears on the floor above, just his silhouette. You toss the fire. He doesn't scream. He just falls. Flames trailing from his coat like wings. You reload, not because you need to, because it keeps your hands busy, because you can't think right now, can't feel. You move room to room. Your breath fogs in front of your face, but your skin sweats from the heat. Each room is a battlefield. A kitchen where a man bled out over a gas stove. A living room with shell holes in every wall. A bedroom where the ceiling collapsed, crushing a German soldier who died, with his hands still covering his head. You find a pack of cigarettes in his pocket. Take 2. Leave the rest. A small trade between ghosts. Downstairs someone screams in Russian, then in German, then nothing. You grip your bottle. The match flares. The flames feel familiar now, like an old friend. It's the one weapon you trust fire. It doesn't jam, doesn't misfire, doesn't run out of bullets. You keep moving, corner to corner, stair to stair, floor to floor. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's fire. Always it's misery, because this isn't a war anymore. It's a funeral parade where every man carries his own coffin and lights it himself. Outside, the snow keeps falling. Ash and frost and bits of buildings that used to mean something. You sit for a moment in the hallway, rest your back against a door. Your hands shake. You're covered in soot, blood, and something you can't name. You light a cigarette. Draw in the smoke. It tastes like burning, but it clears your head. You close your eyes for a second, then open them. Because out here, rest is weakness, and mercy is a fire you can't afford. You rise, one last bottle in your hand, because in this war, when the bullets run out, when the tanks are gone, when the orders stop making sense, you go back to the oldest language there is, fire. And right now, it speaks loudest. 1. You feel them before you see them. The ground shifts. Snowflakes dance sideways. Windows vibrate. Your chest tightens with each thunderous beat. Then, silence. That moment of quiet, too quiet when even the wind holds its breath. And then, the first tank appears. Grey, caked in mud and soot. Smoke curling from the exhaust like a warning. Panzer IV. Not the biggest, but it doesn't need to be. It only needs to move. Because out here, steel wins, steel doesn't flinch. Steel doesn't bleed. And you're made of meat. You crouch behind a cratered wall with your rifle in your lap and a bottle of alcohol you hope you'll get to drink later, not burn. The sergeant beside you taps your shoulder, points to a side alley. Flank, wait for my signal. You nod. Don't speak. Can't speak. Your throat's too dry and your teeth are clacking from cold and nerves. You move. Fast. Low. Your boots crunch over glass and brick. You duck under a collapsed archway and press your body against the jagged edge of a building that used to be a bakery. It still smells faintly of bread, or maybe you just want it to. You peek around the corner. 3 tanks, one already pushing past the barricade. A car crushed beneath its treads like paper. Behind them, German infantry, moving with the confidence of men protected by monsters. You grip the Molotov tighter. You have 2. That's it. The tank turns. Its gun swings like a judgment. It fires. The building 2 doors down evaporates. Debris flies past you. You don't duck. No point. If it hits you, it hits you. You crawl to the edge of the alley. Raise your bottle. The sergeant's whistle pierces the chaos. That's your cue. You light the rag. Count to 3. And throw. The bottle arcs. It hits the rear of the second tank. Flames bloom. The crew panics. A hatch opens. A German soldier tries to climb out. He's on fire. He doesn't scream. He just tumbles to the ground and rolls once before going still. You reload your rifle. Not that it matters. You shoot once, miss, then dive behind a pile of rubble as the machine gun on the lead tank opens up. The bullets shred everything around you. Stone, wood, flesh. You see a comrade get torn in half trying to cross the street. You close your eyes, because watching doesn't change anything. When the gun stops, you move again. You run right into a doorway. Inside, pitch black. You trip over something soft. A leg. Dead man, Soviet. Still holding a satchel charge. You pry it from his grip. Say nothing. Just whisper, "Thank you." Then run. You don't feel your feet anymore. Not from cold. From adrenaline. The tank is 10 meters away now. Smoke trailing. Gun swinging. You crawl under a collapsed beam. Hook the satchel to your belt. Pull the pin. 10 seconds. That's all you get. You sprint. Straight at the beast. It sees you. Or maybe it doesn't. Doesn't matter. You toss the satchel under the rear armour. Dive. Your ears go deaf. Flash. Boom. Heat. Then silence. You open your eyes. Smoke. Flames. Screaming metal. The tank is crippled. Not dead, but wounded. Its turret spins wildly like a dying animal's last thrash. Someone finishes it with another grenade. The hatch pops. Nothing comes out. You lie on the ground. Can't move. Can't breathe. Your ears ring. Blood trickles from your nose. You taste iron. But you're alive. The sergeant finds you. Pulls you to your feet. Doesn't ask if you're okay. He knows you're not. He just says, "Next one's coming." And he's right. Because behind that tank, another. Then another. And another. It doesn't end. You reload again. Your fingers slip. Your hands are shaking. You drop around into the snow. It disappears. You curse under your breath and try again. This time it works. You aim down the street. Tank number 4 is rolling in. No flames, no wounds, fresh paint, a whisper of oil and death. You're out of explosives, out of grenades, out of plans. All that's left is bullets and hope. You dig in beside the others. 5 of you. 6 maybe. Doesn't matter. You wait. You aim. You don't run. Because when the tanks come, you don't always win. But sometimes Sometimes you make them remember you were there. And on the Eastern Front, that's as close to victory as you'll ever get. The snow never stops falling. It doesn't rage. It doesn't rush. It drifts slow, quiet, gentle, like it's mocking you, like it's trying to cover up what's happened here. You sit in a shallow depression just outside a burnt-out village. White all around, black smoke in the sky, grey uniforms ahead, red blood beneath you. You haven't moved in an hour, neither has anyone else. Because every time someone stands, they scream, not from bullets, not from shrapnel, from pain, the kind that creeps in, takes its time, frostbite. You were warned. Keep moving, keep blood flowing, keep toes wiggling. But there's no room to move, and you ran out of dry socks 2 weeks ago. So now, the pain is setting in. Not sharp, not sudden. It starts as numbness, then pins and needles, then fire. Now it's fire. You pull off your left boot. Big mistake. Your sock peels away with your skin. Your toes are purple. Some are black. One doesn't bend anymore. You poke it with your finger. Nothing. Dead. You look away. Beside you, someone starts sobbing. He's not hit. He's not dying. Not yet. But he knows. He's lost both feet. He shows you. Unwraps the bandages. Frozen stumps. Skin splitting. Blood crusted black. He says one word. Gone. You nod. Don't say anything. What is there to say? A medic appears, if you can call him that. More bandages. No morphine. He tears open a packet of something that smells like gasoline and death. Smears it over the man's legs. The man screams. Loud. Guttural. Primal. It echoes across the snow. No one flinches. You're used to it now. You've learned. Out here, men don't scream when they're dying. They scream when they're staying alive. You shift your weight. It hurts. Not your wound the cold. It's in your bones now. In your teeth. Behind your eyes. You breathe out. The air fogs. Then freezes on your lips. You suck it back in. Tastes like smoke and iron. Your fingers don't want to move anymore. You force them. Slap them against your thighs. Hard. The pain helps. Reminds you you're still here. Still part of this war. Still not buried under the snow with the others. You hear movement. Not enemy. Your own. A man crawling. His hands are raw, frostbitten, cracked open. He's dragging his leg, or what's left of it. You recognise him. Used to be tall. Laughed a lot. Not now. Now he's quiet, mouth open. No sound. The scream already left him. Another man nearby is laughing. Not the happy kind. High-pitched. Hollow. You look over. He's making snow angels. In a pool of someone else's blood. His eyes are wide. Unblinking. You don't stop him. You just turn away. The snow is still falling. Still soft. Still quiet. But beneath it, the screams keep coming. Not always from the mouth. Sometimes from the body. A twitch. A spasm. A gasp. Sometimes it's just the way a man holds his arms too tightly across his chest, like he's trying to keep his soul from slipping out. You lie back. Let the snow land on your face. It melts instantly, then freezes. You close your eyes. For a second. A long one. Then, footsteps. Someone nudging you. You jolt awake. Almost fired your rifle. But it's just a friend. Or what passes for one? He says, warmth incoming. You laugh. Can't help it. Warmth means vodka. 1 bottle passed between 12 men. He hands it to you. You sip. It burns. Good. The others pass it around like communion. Like maybe it'll save them. But it won't. You know it. They know it. But for a second, it feels like maybe this won't be how it ends. You hand the bottle back. Someone takes it. Then screams again. Not from pain, from rage. He hurls the bottle at a wall. It shatters. Everyone watches. No one says anything. He sinks to the ground and weeps. The kind of sobs that sound like coughing. And you realise the snow isn't silent. It just hides the noise, muffles it, tries to smother it, but it's there, everywhere. Screams in the snow, some real, some imagined, all of them yours now. The man in front of you has dropped his weapon, hands raised, face pale. Eyes darting between you and the others. A German, young, maybe 17. His rifle is still slung across his shoulder, untouched. There's a piece of chocolate sticking out of his coat pocket. You aim your rifle at him. So do 3 others. No one says anything, because none of you know what happens next. You've never taken a prisoner before. At least, not one who stayed alive long enough to talk about it. The boy speaks, in broken Russian. He says, please. Just that. And somehow, it's the worst thing you've heard all week. Because it sounds like something you would say. If the boots were switched, the sergeant steps forward, stares at the kid, says nothing. You know what he's thinking. Supplies are low. Food's running out. Ammo is scarce. Time is pressure. A prisoner is one more mouth, one more risk, one more heartbeat that could betray you when you sleep. The boy starts to cry. It's not loud. Just silent tears down a red, wind-burned face. Someone whispers, we should just shoot him. Someone else says, he's just a kid. The sergeant's jaw tightens. Then he says flatly, tie his hands. You do, roughly. He flinches, but he doesn't resist. You lead him through the woods, gun to his back. He stumbles, falls. You shout. He gets up. You want to hate him. You try, but all you see is a scared child in the wrong uniform. You reach the clearing where the rest of your squad waits. They've been busy. There's another group tied up under the tree line. 3 Germans, 1 wounded, 2 wearing partisan clothing. But they don't fool anyone. Their boots are too clean, their accents too sharp. The partisans, the real ones, arrive not long after. Locals, ragged, dirty, wearing every layer of clothing they own. Their leader is a woman, hard face, eyes like gravel, 1 ear missing. She walks straight to the prisoners, asks no questions, just draws a knife. The sergeant steps forward, says, wait, these are soldiers. She doesn't blink. They burned my village. He opens his mouth to speak, then closes it. Because what do you say to that? You watch her drag the wounded one into the trees. You hear him scream, once, then silence. You don't ask what happened, because you already know. The partisans don't keep prisoners. They don't run camps. They don't have cells. They have trees and knives and memories that refuse to die. You sit down beside the youngest prisoner. He's still crying. You offer him your canteen. He takes it, sips once, then hugs it like a lifeline. He says, "I didn't want this." You nod. So did everyone else. He reaches into his coat slowly and pulls out the chocolate, breaks off a piece, hands it to you. You take it. Because saying no feels cruel, you eat. It tastes like guilt. Someone behind you fires a shot. One of the prisoners slumps. No one flinched. The partisan leader walks back into camp, wipes her blade on her sleeve, says nothing. You look at your sergeant. He doesn't look back. He's staring into the fire like it's a question no one can answer. That night, you take watch. The boy sleeps tied to a tree. You stand 10 feet away, rifle across your chest. The moonlight glows off the snow. It makes everything look clean, but it isn't. It never was. You hear footsteps behind you. The partisan woman. She stops next to you. Whispers, "Don't leave him alive." You say nothing. She walks away. You watch the boy sleep. He snores softly, murmurs something in German. Maybe a name. Maybe a prayer. You don't know. You lift your rifle, just an inch, then lower it. You walk to the tree, loosen his binding slightly. He doesn't wake. You step back, sit down again, because maybe there's no right answer here, only cold ones. Because on the Eastern Front, there are no prisoners, only survivors, and you're not sure which one you are anymore. You start digging before the sun comes up. The ground is hard, not just cold hard, like it doesn't want to let go of the dead. Your shovel strikes frozen earth again and again. It makes your hands bleed. You don't stop, because you've already stopped enough times in this war to know what that feels like. There are 5 bodies beside you. 4 of them are wrapped in canvas. 1 isn't. You knew him. Not well. Just well enough to know how he took his tea and how he used to hum while cleaning his rifle. Now he's quiet, like the rest. You keep digging. Another soldier works beside you. Neither of you speak. There's no point. What are you going to say? That it's unfair? That it's cold? That you're tired? The whole doesn't care. The bodies don't care. And the war certainly doesn't care. You look up. Across the field, more holes, more shovels, more boots crunching in the snow, more men performing the only ritual left that still feels human. Burial. Crude, shallow, necessary. Someone walks past carrying a bundle of letters, found on the bodies, pockets, jackets, boot linings, some unopened, some half-written, some just pages stained in blood that no one can even read anymore. He tosses them into a sack. You watch them fall. One has a ribbon still tied around it. Another's written in childlike print a letter from someone's daughter. You blink, look away, focus on the dirt, the shovel, the scrape, the ice. Because if you think too long about what's inside those envelopes, you won't move again, ever. The burial detail pauses. A lieutenant steps forward, pulls out a book, reads a line. Something about duty, something about heroes. You've heard it before. You stopped listening weeks ago. But you nod anyway, just like everyone else. Because it's what you're supposed to do. You lower the bodies in one at a time. Each one makes a sound when it hits the dirt. A soft thud. Final. Then the canvas one. You don't know who's inside. Doesn't matter. All the names blur now. After the 5th body, someone starts covering them. You reach for your shovel. Someone else stops you, says, "You've done enough." You want to laugh. Enough. You haven't even started. You step back, look down at the graves. They're barely marked. Just a stick with a name. Sometimes only a number, because names fade, and numbers are easier to count. A soldier beside you whispers, "He was writing a letter last night. Didn't finish it." You ask who. He shrugs. "One of them." You nod and wonder, what happens to the unfinished letters? Do they go home? Do they disappear? Do they matter? You walk back to camp. Your boot's heavier now. Your rifle hangs low, useless for the dead. You sit down beside a crate. Your hands still tremble. You pull out your own letter, still folded, still blank. You've rewritten it a dozen times in your head, never once on paper. What do you say? That it's cold? That you're scared? That you're sorry? You press the pencil down. It breaks. You try again. Start with the date. Scratch it in the corner. Then stop. Because you don't know how much truth they can handle. Because how do you write about a place where snow swallows men whole? Where graves freeze before they are even dug? Where the only thing warmer than your breath is the blood on your gloves? So you don't write anything. You fold the page. Put it back. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe after the next burial. You hear someone sobbing behind a supply tent. Quiet. Ashamed. You don't move. Because today it was them. Tomorrow it might be you. Someone asks for help building more markers. You say yes. Because that's the only thing left that resembles purpose. Not medals. Not orders. Not revenge. Just making sure someone remembers who went into the ground. Even if it's only for a week. You hammer a stick into the frozen soil. Tie a strip of cloth around it. The wind flutters it gently, almost kindly. You think, maybe that's enough. The first thing you hear is the barking. Cuts through the stillness like a bullet. Not gunfire, not shouting, not boots on frost. Just barking. You freeze, because barking means dogs, and dogs mean trouble. Sometimes they're lost. Sometimes they're hungry, and sometimes they're not dogs anymore. They're weapons. You inch forward through a blown-out barn, rifle tight in your hands. The barking grows louder, ragged, panicked, desperate. You reach a hole in the wall and peek through. There's a German soldier, dead, laid out across the snow like he was dropped from the sky. His rifle's a metre away. His throat, gone, ripped, and beside him a dog, grey, limping, muzzle soaked in red. It snarls, sees you. You raise your rifle. It doesn't charge. It just watches, head low, ears flat. Then it turns and disappears into the woods. You exhale. You don't lower your weapon for another 10 minutes. Because you've heard the stories. Dogs trained to run under tanks with bombs strapped to their backs. Horses left to starve, then loosed into enemy lines to draw fire. Crows feasting on the dead until they can't fly anymore. Everything's different now. Even the animals have adapted. You've seen rats pick through a man's chest before the medic could even get there. Cats that don't purr, just hiss. Roam empty buildings like they're claiming what's left of the living. You've seen wolves circling both armies. No sides, no loyalties. Just hunger. And maybe something else. One night on patrol you saw something in the woods. Tall, thin, four-legged but wrong. It didn't move like a deer. Didn't look like anything from your childhood. You blinked. It was gone. You never told anyone. Because on the Eastern Front you don't just fight men, you fight winter, silence, ghosts. And sometimes you fight the things nature made in the dark when no one was watching. You sit down near the fire that night. A rabbit carcass hangs from a stick. One of the partisans caught it. They say it ran straight into their trap like it wanted to be caught. Maybe it did. You eat the meat anyway. No seasoning, no salt. Just warmth. It tastes like ash and muscle, but it fills your stomach. That's all that matters. A comrade tells a story about a German patrol that vanished in the forest. Not ambushed, not bombed, just gone. Bootprints stopped mid-stride, like they were lifted out of existence. Bears, someone says. No bears this time of year, someone else answers. Then silence. Because they all know the truth. It wasn't bears. It wasn't anything with a name. Another story. A cow found still standing. Frozen solid. Eyes wide open. Snow on its back like it never fell. A man touched it and said he heard a voice. He doesn't talk anymore. Doesn't blink much either. You stare into the fire. You hear the wind howl through broken trees and worse buildings. It sounds almost like laughter. Mocking. Like the forest knows what you've done. Like the animals have been watching this whole time. Judging. Learning. Changing. You wake to find prints around your camp. Not human. Not dog. Too large. Too deep. You follow them until they vanish at the riverbank. No drag marks. No blood. Just prints. Then nothing. You don't tell the others. Because there's no point. They already know. Out here, everything alive is dangerous. And everything dead isn't done yet. You've seen crows peck at corpses, then hop away with dog tags in their beaks. You've seen horses scream before they go down like they know what's waiting on the other side. You've seen wild things try to run and forget they've already been hit. Now, sometimes you catch yourself staring into the trees too long. Not for snipers, not for scouts, for something else. Something watching back. And when you hear barking in the distance, you don't think dog. You think mine. You think trap. You think run. Because even the beasts here have learned to hate. You don't remember when you started writing them. The letters. Maybe it was after the first winter. Maybe after the third burial you dug with bare hands. Maybe after the third man died before he finished his last sentence. But you write them now. Not for your mother. Not for your girl. Not even for command. You write them because if you don't, you forget how to speak. You sit with your back against a broken chimney. Smoke curls upward from a fire that barely crackles anymore. Paper in your lap. Pencil in your fingers. Both shaking. The others sleep around you. Some snore. Some twitch. One weeps in his dreams and pretends it's the cold. You write, "Dear Nadia, I don't know where to begin. We crossed the river again. We lost Anton. We lost Ivan. The ground doesn't take blood anymore, it just holds it on the surface like a mirror. I haven't eaten anything that didn't come from a tin in 3 days. I stole a cigarette from a dead man today. I smoked it and didn't feel guilty. Is that bad?" You stop. Erase that last line. Guilt is for another lifetime. You try again. We're holding what's left of a school. Children's drawings still on the walls. Ones of a dog. Ones of a house. Ones of a bright yellow sun. I haven't seen the sun in weeks. You pause again. The fire spits once. The paper is soft, thin, worn. Like it wants to be thrown away. You stare at your words. Then scratch a line through all of them. Start a new one. We're okay. I'm okay. Tell Papa not to worry. Tell little Masha to keep drawing the sun. Lie, but necessary, because you don't write for the truth. You write for the version of yourself you hope still exists, the one who'd know how to be human in a world not built from ash. A man beside you think his name is Sergei pulls out his own letter. He's written it 100 times, never mailed it. It's addressed to no one, just to whomever finds this. He's got a stack now, all the same handwriting, all the same story. He folds them carefully, puts them back in a rusted tin, says it's in case he's found. He wants to be remembered. You want to tell him you will be, but you're not sure if that's a kindness or a curse. One night someone reads his letter aloud. It's quiet, personal, not brave, not heroic. Just a man remembering how his wife made tea in the morning. He cries when he reads it. So do you. No one mentions it after. No one ever does. There's old rumour that letters home get censored, that some never even leave, that if you say the wrong thing, too much pain, too much honesty, they burn it. You don't know if it's true, but you write anyway, because it's not about who reads it. It's about writing it, holding a pencil like a weapon against forgetting. Because out here, the real danger isn't death. It's becoming just another body. You write on anything now. Cardboard, scrap maps, even the inside of a ration wrapper once, and always in the corner. If I don't return, you never finish that sentence. No one does. Because if you do, it becomes real. One man carves his name into his rifle. Another carves it into a tree. You just write it down. Over and over. Fold it. Tuck it into your coat. Pretend it means something. Sometimes, when the mail actually comes once every month, if you're lucky you see men break. One opens a letter, reads the first line, then sits down and doesn't speak for hours. Another gets nothing, again, and that somehow hurts more. Because silence weighs heavier than words ever could. You once watched a man burn every letter he had. He didn't cry. He just said, "No one's waiting anymore," and walked into the next charge like it was easier than standing still. You finish your own letter, fold it, slide it into your coat pocket. You don't write an address. Just one word, home. You close your eyes and wonder if it still exists, or if it's just one more story you tell yourself to keep your hands moving, to keep your pencil from breaking, to stay human a little bit longer. There are some who survive. You've seen them. Men who walk off the front lines with all their limbs, all their fingers, all their blood still inside them, but not right, not whole. They talk, they eat, they breathe, but something's missing, or maybe something's still there that shouldn't be. You sit across from one now. Name's Mikhail. At least, it used to be. Now he just gets called the one from Demyansk. That's where they found him. In a trench half buried in snow. Alone. Wrapped in 2 coats and 3 blankets. Alive. He doesn't blink much anymore. Doesn't sleep. Stares at the middle distance like he's watching something the rest of you can't see. You offered him tea once. He flinched so hard he spilled it across your boots. Didn't apologise. Didn't react. Just stared at the fire like it was a new kind of weapon. Someone tried to joke with him. Said, "Must be nice being the lucky one." Mikhail looked up. Smiled. But it wasn't a real smile. It was the kind that bends a man's face in the wrong direction. Like he forgot which muscles to use. Then he said, I didn't come back. Just the uniform did. No one's made that joke since. You've seen more like him. Men who survived bombings, encirclements, frost. Men pulled from the ice with hands still clenched around their rifles. They talk in fragments, conversations that don't end, sentences that loop, stories that don't have beginnings or endings, just middles that never let go. One of them keeps setting extra places at the fire every night, for men who aren't there. You ask why. He says, they might show up. He's serious. No one stops him. Another sleeps standing up, leaning against a post, eyes open, fingers twitching like he's squeezing an invisible trigger. Once he screamed so loud the Germans probably heard him across the lines. Screamed a name. You didn't ask whose, didn't want to know, because if you know the name, you remember the person, and once you remember, it hurts more when you forget again. There's a word for them now. Shell-shocked. Broken. But no one says it out loud. Too close. Too real. Because deep down you know, it's only a matter of time before you're one of them. You felt it. The dreams you can't wake from. The way silence sounds like gunfire now. The way a sudden laugh makes your skin crawl. You check your boots every morning like you're afraid there'll be blood in them. You flinch at birds, at shadows, at kindness, because you've learned not every wound bleeds. Some sit inside you, coiled like wire, ready to snap. You remember a man who came back from a patrol with his uniform soaked in blood. Not his. He was carrying a comrade, or what was left of him. He talked to the body for an hour before anyone had the courage to take it away. He screamed when they did, like they were tearing something out of him. Maybe they were. He never left his tent after that, until one night he was just gone. No note, no footsteps. No one followed, because no one wanted to find what was left. You lie awake now, staring at the sky. There are no stars, just smoke, cold wind, and thoughts you can't bury. You wonder what you'll be like if you make it home. Will you sit on a train and panic when it stops? Will you walk through markets and flinch at the smell of burning meat? Will you forget names? Will you forget your own? You once read that the brain has a limit. Too much horror, and it just rewires. Builds walls, reroutes. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe the ones who came back wrong are the only ones who actually figured out how to keep going. You hear Mikhail muttering beside the fire again. Same words as always. We held the line. We held the line. We held the line. You close your eyes and whisper. At what cost? It's minus 30 degrees. Real cold. The kind that eats, not the kind that numbs your fingers or stings your cheeks. This cold starts inside your chest, wraps around your lungs, squeezes. You breathe in, it hurts. You breathe out, it hurts worse. There's no fire tonight, no wood, no fuel. The last supply run never came back. Neither did the men who went on it. You're inside a half-collapsed farmhouse. One wall is missing. The wind comes in sideways. Snowdrifts pile up at the corners. You've stopped brushing them away. What's the point? You curl into yourself. Coat tight. Blanket tighter. 2 pairs of socks. 3 if you count the dead man's you took yesterday. You press your hands into your armpits. Try to remember what warmth felt like. You can't. The man next to you isn't moving. You don't ask if he's asleep. You know the truth. He died an hour ago, or maybe 2. You didn't notice until his head slumped against your shoulder. You didn't move him. Because right now, he's warm. And when a body goes cold, it takes something from you too. Someone coughs across the room. Wet. Deep. Sounds like something tearing loose. No one moves to help. There's nothing to offer. Not water. Not rations. Not hope. Outside, the wind howls. Like it's laughing. Like it knows who will be next. You reach into your coat and pull out a scrap of bread. It's frozen solid. You put it in your mouth anyway. Suck on it like candy. It doesn't soften, but it gives you something to do. Someone whispers a prayer in the corner. Soft. Broken. A string of words that used to mean something. You used to pray, back when you still believed someone was listening. Now, you just watch the frost grow across the inside of your collar. It sparkles in the moonlight. Beautiful, if you didn't know what it meant. Your eyelashes freeze together when you blink. You tear them apart with your fingers. The skin around your eyes cracks. But you're used to it. You've stopped feeling pain the way you used to. Everything is dull now. Quiet. Even the grief. That's the worst part. You want to cry, but you can't. Because at -30 degrees, tears freeze before they fall. They crust at the corners of your eyes, then turn to ice, then fall off in tiny glittering shards. You buried a friend yesterday. Tried to cry then too. Nothing came, just breath. Steam. A sound from deep in your throat like a sob, but too dry to make it real. You held his helmet in your lap and stared at your own reflection in the dented steel. You didn't recognize the face. You still don't. You stare down at your hands now, cracked. Blue. 2 fingernails gone. You wrapped them, not to heal them, just to stop the bleeding. You've learned to prioritize blood matters. Tears don't. They waste water and warmth. You look around. A few are still awake. One writing, one rocking back and forth, one just staring at the wall, muttering a name under his breath. Probably his wife, or daughter, or someone who's already dead and doesn't know it yet. You check your boots. Still on. Still dry. Still yours. You've seen men sleep with their boots off and wake up with no toes. Or worse, wake up screaming while rats chew them off. You don't scream anymore. None of you do. Even when someone dies. Even when the wind peels open the roof. Even when your fingers break just from trying to unzip your coat. There's a silence now that blankets everything. Not peaceful, final, like the world gave up on noise. You lie back, close your eyes, not to sleep, just to rest them. The cold hums against your skin like a slow burn. You think, maybe if I don't wake up, it won't be so bad. But you do wake up, every time, because the cold wants you conscious. It wants you to feel it, to count the seconds, to remember what you lost. So you rise, shake your limbs, stomp your feet. Pain shoots up your legs. Good. Means you're still alive. Means you're still part of this. Whatever this is, you breathe again, slow, shallow, and whisper to yourself, don't cry, because out here, tears are a luxury, and at -30 degrees, even grief freezes. You remember his name. Everyone does. Not because he was loud, not because he was cruel, because he was brave. The kind of brave you read about in books. The kind that stands tall when shells fall. The kind that runs toward fire. The kind that shouts, "Follow me," and means it. His name was Arkady, and he was the best of you. The one who smiled when rations came in short, who shared his last cigarette without blinking, who stood up during shelling to pull a wounded man out from under rubble, who always walked first into dark buildings. You admired him. You wanted to be him. But now he's dead. Shot between the eyes 3 days ago. Mid-charge. Didn't even make it past the second barricade. One step forward, that was it. He dropped. Mouth open, hands still holding his rifle. Didn't even get a last word. You stood there frozen. You were 2 steps behind him. If he hadn't gone first, it might have been you. You didn't move for a full minute. Then you turned and ran. It wasn't cowardice. It was survival. Because the truth hits you hard and cold. Heroes die fast. They stand out. And standing out gets you shot. You've watched it happen over and over. The ones who raise their heads? Gone. The ones who run forward with bayonets? Gone. The ones who charge machine gun nests screaming their mother's name? Gone. And the ones left behind? They're quiet. Low. Small. They hide in craters. They keep their voices low. They know the names of every inch of cover between here and there. They don't ask for medals. They ask for dry boots. You remember a commander once medals lined his chest. He didn't last 2 weeks. Sniper got him through the heart. The medal stopped nothing. But a man with no rank, no glory. He's still here. Still smoking. Still whispering jokes about frostbite and latrine duty. Still ducking at the first sign of trouble. He once told you, "I'll be brave when they bury me." You believed him then. You understand him now. Because courage here isn't a speech. It isn't a pose. It isn't a flag. It's crawling through mud with a knife between your teeth and praying you don't sneeze. It's pretending not to care when your friend gets torn apart by shrapnel. It's looking away when the new guy says, "I want to be a hero." Because you already know how his story ends. Sometimes a new soldier shows up. Fresh-faced. Eyes bright. Asks, "Who's the bravest man in the unit?" No one answers. No one even looks at him. Because the bravest man, he's already buried. 6 feet down. Or less, if the ground was frozen. You hear it at night. The whispers. Not ghost stories. Just names. Spoken softly, like you're trying not to wake the dead. Remember Arkady? Remember Misha? Remember the one with the harmonica? And always he was too brave, too loud, too fast, too full of light. The front doesn't like light. It devours it. So you learn. Keep your head down. Keep your hand steady. Keep your mouth shut. You do your job. And when the moment comes when someone needs to run or leap or scream, you hesitate. Because you've seen what happens next. Bravery doesn't end in medals. It ends in silence. And a shallow grave that no one has time to mark. So tonight, when the younger ones talk about glory, you just stare into the fire. You don't argue. You don't lecture. You let them believe. Because soon enough, they'll learn. In war, heroes don't get remembered. They just get replaced. You figured it out somewhere between the 3rd broken promise and the 5th dead friend. They're lying. All of them. Command. The newspapers. The letters from home. Even the posters. Especially the posters. You remember the one you saw on the train, bright, bold, heroic. A soldier standing tall with the sun behind him, arm raised, rifle lifted. Clean uniform. Clean boots. Clean war. The caption read, Victory is certain. You stared at it the whole ride. Now, that phrase makes you want to vomit. Nothing is certain except cold and rot and lies. They told you it would be over by winter. That was 2 winters ago. They told you reinforcements were coming. They didn't. They told you the Germans were starving, freezing, breaking. You're the one starving. You're the one freezing. You've watched men die with empty stomachs and hollow eyes while the radio still blasts news about progress. One time a broadcast said your division had taken a town. You were in that town, still pinned down, still bleeding, still losing. You looked around at the bodies in the street and whispered, "They forgot to tell the enemy." Another time, a letter from home said how proud everyone was, that your city had put your name on a board of heroes, that school children were being taught about your courage. You were eating rat meat in a trench when you read that. Your hands were shaking so bad you could barely hold the paper. You laughed. Then you cried. Then you burned the letter just to stay warm. Command says morale is high. They say you are winning. They say you are honoured. You say, "Where's the food?" They say, "Patriots endure." You say, "Where's the medicine?" They say, "Victory is near." You say, "Where's Ivan? Where's Dima? Where's everyone who went into that building and never came out?" They say nothing, because they weren't there. They weren't dragging bodies by the ankles through snow that wouldn't melt. They weren't scraping frozen blood off boots with bayonets. They weren't burying 20-year-olds in unmarked graves beside burned-out trucks. But you were. You are. And you've learned. Out here, truth is a liability, so you don't believe anymore. Not in medals, not in speeches, not in anything printed or broadcast. You believe in what you can see. The man beside you who bandaged your leg without a word. The woman partisan who killed 3 Germans with a single clip and walked away like it was nothing. The kid who froze to death holding a rifle like it was a teddy bear. That's real. That's all that's left. Truth isn't in speeches. It's in wounds and scars. And eyes that never close all the way anymore. You watch the new recruits arrive. Fresh coats, clean boots, straight backs. They still nod when the officer shouts slogans. Still cheer when the news comes in. You look at them and feel old. You're 23. You feel 80. One of them asks you, "Is it true what they said? That the Germans are retreating?" You nod. Lie. Because sometimes lies are softer than truth. Sometimes it's mercy. But deep down, you know it doesn't matter what direction the enemy's walking. You're still here, still digging, still bleeding, still eating snow and praying for the kind of silence that doesn't mean death. You think, maybe the war ends with a bullet. Maybe it ends with frost. But it never ends with a parade. And when the final broadcast comes, when the radio says, "We have won," you won't cheer. You'll whisper, "I'll believe it when I can sleep without flinching." They're everywhere. Not the dead. The missing. The ones who didn't get graves. Didn't get goodbyes. Didn't get the dignity of an ending. Just gone. 1 minute they're beside you in a foxhole. The next, the smoke clears, and it's just you, and their rifle, their helmet, their pack still full of things they never got to eat. There's a space next to you in the trench. Used to be filled with laughter, coughs, snoring. Now it's just air. You keep glancing at it, expecting him to be there. But he's not. He won't be. Ever again. You try not to say his name, because if you say it, you hear it echo. and echoes hurt more than silence. You sit by the fire and look at the spare boots in your bag. They're not yours, they're his. You keep them anyway. Not because you'll wear them. You won't. They're too big. Too heavy. You keep them because throwing them away feels like betrayal. He asked you to carry them. Just in case. You did. Just like you carried the letter he never finished, and the chocolate he was saving for after the war. Now it's all melted together at the bottom of your kit. Paper, sugar, a smear of what he used to believe in. One morning a commander asked for a list of the dead. You gave him names, then stopped halfway through, said, "The rest didn't die." He looked confused. You said, "They just vanished." Because it's true. Some men go down screaming, some go down silently, and some just stop being there. You walked through a shelled-out building last week, found a jacket hanging on a door, still buttoned, still warm, but no body, no blood, just air. It's like the war took him mid-step, didn't even leave a shadow. And in that moment you realized, this war eats memory, not just bodies, not just hope. Memory. It erases them so efficiently you start to wonder if they were ever real. You whisper names at night just to prove to yourself they were. Just to remind yourself you had people. That they mattered. That they laughed and limped and argued and chewed bread too loudly. Now, all of that's gone. Replaced with wind and frost and dreams you can't explain. You used to write down names in your journal. Each man who didn't come back. But you stopped. Because the list started looking like a graveyard. And you didn't have enough pages. Now, you just remember what you can. The way Andre cracked his knuckles when he was nervous. The way Luca would whistle before patrol like a bad luck charm. The way Vadim kept his sister's photo in his helmet, even after it got soaked and tore down the middle. You keep those pieces, because they're the only parts of them the war didn't take. But even those start to slip. You forgot someone's voice last week. You tried to recall it, sat for an hour just reaching, but it never came. You screamed into your hands when you realized it was gone. No one heard. Or maybe they did and they didn't say anything. Because they know they're losing people too. Not just in the ground, but in themselves. One man started sleeping on the ground again. Not because there's no bed, because that's how he always slept with his friend beside him. Another keeps mumbling jokes ones no one else understands. Turns out they were shared between two men. One's still here, one's not. You see the empty places everywhere. In tents, in boots lined up by the fire, in spoons left behind, still warm. The war doesn't just take the best of you, it takes the rest of you too. Slowly, quietly, until one day you realize you're not just fighting the enemy, you're fighting to remember the ones who disappeared without a trace, and maybe fighting not to become one of them. The shelling stops. You don't notice at first. Your ears still ring, your hands still tremble, your jaws clenched like it forgot how to relax. But then, no whistles, no more to hiss, no crack of rifles, just nothing. You look up, sky's grey, snow falling again. You wait for the next impact. It doesn't come. You exhale, but it doesn't feel like breathing. It feels like waiting for the punch that never lands. Someone says, "Is it over?" No one answers, because no one knows. You poke your head above the trench. Still nothing. The battlefield is still. A graveyard with no names. Smoke drifts like lazy ghosts over churned-up earth. A helmet rolls in the breeze. A dead man's hand sticks up from the ice like it's waving goodbye. You step out, 1 foot, then the other. The crunch of snow under your boots sounds like thunder now. Every noise feels too loud. Every breath feels like you're doing something wrong. You're not used to this. You're used to chaos, to noise, to yelling, screaming, dying. But this silence, it's worse. Because it leaves space. Space for memory, space for guilt. Space for every thought you've been trying to outrun since the first shot was fired. You walk through the field. Your rifle hangs low. Not even loaded. What's the point? There's no one left to shoot. Or maybe you just don't want to anymore. You pass a crater filled with snowmelt and black water. You look into it. You expect to see your reflection. You don't. Just shadow. You keep walking. A friend calls out behind you. You flinch. Not because it's danger. Because it's the first voice you've heard in hours. And it startles you worse than any gun ever did. You sit down beside a burned-out tank. Still warm, somehow. Still radiating heat from its last breath. You lean against it. Close your eyes. The quiet presses in. Not gentle, heavy. It lands on your shoulders like a weight. You start to hum just to break it. A lullaby. Something your mother used to sing. You don't even remember the words. Just the tune. You stop after a few notes. Feels wrong. Like you're disturbing the dead. One of the younger men nearby starts talking too fast. Telling a story about home. A bakery. A girl. A bicycle. You nod. Smile. But you're not listening. You're too focused on the silence between his words. That's where the danger lives now. Because silence lets you feel again. And feeling? That's not something you're ready for. A medic walks past with no urgency, no stretcher, no bandage, no blood. He's humming too. You realise no one's shouting anymore. No one's weeping. No one's praying. Everyone's just breathing. And that feels strange. You press your hand to your ears, just for a second, to remind yourself of what it was like when sound drowned thought. You let go. And still, it's quiet. You want to scream, not in fear, not in anger, just to hear something, anything, because the silence is peeling back your armour. Every memory you shoved deep, now it's coming up. Every name you forgot, every promise you broke, every moment you said, "I'll think about it later." Later is here. And it's whispering. The man next to you starts to cry. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. You look away. Because if you look at him, you'll start too. And if you start, you won't stop. Because silence is a mirror. It reflects things you've been trying not to see. You stand up, walk away, don't know where you're going. Doesn't matter. As long as you're moving. Because if you stop, if you sit in that silence too long, you'll remember. You'll feel. You'll hear voices of people who aren't here anymore. And that might be the loudest thing of all. No one told you what happens after. After the guns. After the shells. After the screaming stops and your boots aren't soaked in blood anymore. They trained you to fight. To kill. To endure. But not to survive. Because deep down they never thought you would. You weren't supposed to. You were cannon fodder. Frozen meat. A number in a notebook that would be crossed out and replaced tomorrow. You were a name on a list, a body in a trench, a line in a report that said loss is acceptable. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still blinking, still dragging that rifle like it's part of your skeleton now. And now you face something no one prepared you for. Living. What do you do with that? What do you do with a body that still works and a mind that doesn't? They told you dying would be glorious, that your name would live on. Statues, medals, parades. But there's no statue. Just you, covered in mud, staring at your reflection in a puddle and thinking, why me? You don't have an answer. You never will. You remember the ones who didn't make it. They were better than you. Kinder. Stronger. Braver. They charged when you ducked. They shared when you hesitated. They smiled when you forgot how. Now they're gone. And you're still here. And you're still here. And all that's left is guilt. Survivor's guilt. The kind that whispers to you when it's quiet. You stole someone else's ending. You walk through what used to be a village. No buildings, just rubble. No people, just shadows. A dog limps past you. It doesn't look at you. It doesn't bark. It just disappears into the grey. You sit down on a stone where a home used to be. You think about the word future. It sounds fake. Cartoonish. Like something someone made up to keep children quiet. You try to imagine what you'll do after this. Work? Family? Peace? It doesn't fit. You've been rewired. Your brain is barbed wire now. Your heart? Just a clenched fist that won't unclench. Someone says the train is coming. Going west. Back to what's left. You nod. You'll go. What choice do you have? But as you pack what's left of your gear, you realise you don't know how to be a person anymore. You know how to dig, how to shoot, how to bury, but not how to sit in a chair without checking the windows. Not how to eat without counting rations. Not how to listen to a child laugh without hearing it turn into a scream. You board the train. It lurches forward. Men around you cheer. Some sing. You don't. You look out the window at a land that was never really yours. Just borrowed. Just bled on. Just passed through like a nightmare no one wakes up from. And you think, I made it. Then, right after. But I wasn't supposed to. And that thought sits in your chest like a frozen rock. Because surviving means remembering. It means seeing the faces you can't unsee, hearing the voices you'll never hear again, carrying the names of men who screamed your name as they died. You close your eyes, lean your head against the window. The glass is cold, but not as cold as it used to be. And for the first time in months, maybe years, you exhale without shaking. Not because you're okay. You're not. You never will be. But because the train is moving, and you're still on it. And sometimes that's enough. It's strange. You thought going home would feel like something? Joy, relief, closure. Instead, it feels empty, like walking backward through someone else's dream. The train rocks gently, too gently. You almost miss the jolt of artillery, the bone-deep vibration of chaos. Now it's just soft rattling. Snow on the windows, scenery passing too fast to recognise. Villages blur by, woods, rivers, smoke from chimneys. Normal life, still here, still happening, somehow while you were out there breaking. You want to press your face to the glass and scream, "Don't you know what we did?" But you don't. because they don't. And they never will. Behind you, a soldier talks about rebuilding his house. Another says he wants to marry his nurse. You nod, smile, lie. Because you haven't thought about the future in so long, the idea of after still feels like a trick. You tried once halfway through the war to picture yourself in a garden. Planting. Hands in dirt, not blood. Sunlight instead of smoke. You laughed. Then cried. Now you don't do either. You just stare out the window and think, this isn't my world anymore. At the last stop before the city, a group of children waves at the train. Small hands, bright eyes. Like they believe everyone on board is a hero. You turn away, because you know the truth. You're not a hero. You're what's left after the heroes died. You look down at your hands, still cracked. Still dirty, even after scrubbing. You wonder if they'll ever come clean. If you'll ever stop carrying the smell of smoke in your skin. If the sounds, gunshots, screams, crying that never got quieter, will ever fade. You step off the train, boots hit the platform, hard, you flinch, instinct. Your eyes scan the rooftops automatically, looking for snipers that aren't there. Your breath catches in your throat, not from fear, from disbelief. You're here. You made it. And now, you don't know what to do with yourself. People meet the train. Mothers, wives, brothers, arms outstretched, tears in their eyes. You don't see your family. You're not even sure they're still alive, or if they'll recognize you, or if you'll recognize them. Someone offers you a ride into town. You shake your head. You walk, one step at a time, past buildings still standing, shops with glass in the windows, carts full of bread that doesn't smell like rations. You pass a mirror in a storefront. Pause. Look. You barely see yourself. Just a figure. Too thin. Too pale. Eyes too hollow. You raise your hand. Touch the glass. Just to feel something. It's cold. Of course it is. Everything's been cold for so long you wonder if you'll ever thaw. You keep walking. Every corner holds a memory that doesn't belong to you anymore. Every voice sounds too clean. Every sound feels like it's happening underwater. You reach the street you grew up on. It's smaller now, somehow quieter. You walk up to your old building, stare at the door. Don't open it. Not yet. Instead, you sit on the stoop. Just for a minute, hands in your lap, head down. You breathe. Once, twice. It hurts less than it used to, but it still hurts. A kid rides by on a bicycle. Bell ringing. Laughing. You watch him disappear down the road like a ghost in reverse. For a moment, you remember what peace used to feel like. And for the first time since the front, you allow yourself one quiet, broken, exhausted thought. Maybe I'll be okay. Not now, not soon, but maybe, someday. They smile at you. That's the first thing you notice. Everyone smiles. On the street, in the shops, in the houses with their lights still on. You nod back, politely, quietly, carefully, because you don't know how to smile like that anymore. Not with your whole face, not without feeling like you're lying. A neighbour waves, asks how it was. You say, fine. He says, glad you're home. You say, me too. You both know you're lying. He wants to ask more, but he doesn't. He doesn't want the real answer. Nobody does. They want, it was hard, not, I buried my best friend in a ditch with my bare hands. They want, I'm just happy to be back. Not, I haven't slept through the night in 18 months. They want it's over. But for you, it never will be. It's in the way your fingers twitch when a truck backfires, the way you scan doorways before you enter, the way your eyes trace rooftops like a sniper might still be up there. It's in your silence at dinner, the way you stare at the bread, how you eat slowly, measured, like you're afraid someone might take it away. It's in your answers, short, soft, non-committal, because if you open the floodgates, you're not sure anything will stop it. A child asks if you killed anyone. You freeze. The mother hushes in. You force a laugh. Change the subject. But inside, the question echoes, not just because of what you did, but because of how easily it feels like someone else did it. Like it happened to another version of you, one that never made it back. They give you a uniform to wear for some celebration. Something clean, ironed, bright. You stare at it like it's a joke. You wore the real one long enough to watch it rot off your body. This feels like a costume. You wear it anyway, because it keeps the question short. Someone gives you a medal, pins it on your chest, calls you brave. You nod, say thank you. Try not to laugh. Try not to cry. You walk home after, down a street that used to feel like yours. Now it just feels like something you read about once. You pause at a window, see your reflection. The medal glints. You think, this is what they'll remember. Not the screams, not the cold, not the silence. Just a ribbon and a metal disc and a story they'll rewrite without asking. At home, your mother touches your face, cries, says, you look the same. She's wrong, but you don't say it, because it would break her, because she wouldn't understand. No one will, not truly, not unless they were there, not unless they smelled it, heard it, buried it. So you keep it inside, where it twists, where it burns, where it waits. Because how do you explain a war that still lives in your bones? How do you say, I survived? And not follow it with, but I left pieces of myself behind. You can't, so you don't. You nod, you smile, you say, I'm fine. And the world keeps turning. The shops stay open, the kids keep laughing, the posters come down, the guns rust. But in your head, it's still snowing, and the trench never emptied, and the dead are still whispering your name. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, you're one of the few. If you value stories like this, the ones that don't make it into textbooks, please consider subscribing. It helps us tell the stories of the people who were never meant to come home. So they're not forgotten. So the silence doesn't win. So their names don't disappear with the frost. Until next time, sleep well, soldier. You earned it.